Chapter 8. My cell phone flashlight reported the time as 2 a.m. when we arrived back at the hospital. 2 zombs were walking the end of the parking lot as we raced by. They blasted shotguns when they heard the truck, but they didn't aim at us. The sound brought more zombs from the buildings across the street. It was a nightmare ambush, one of the first. We mowed them down with the truck and with gunfire as we turned into the drive and headed for the loading bay. When they returned fire without aiming, I realized that these zombs served as an alarm system. People, these zombified people, were being used as sentries. They listened for us and signaled our coming and going. I was certain that the leaders were observing us, learning our movement patterns. Attack from different directions. Attack at night. Their patterns were flexing, changing, like using piles of cans for alarms and the tripwires, or coming through the roof or the air vents and using mutated dogs. They were mixing it up, hitting us off guard. It was genius. Learn your enemy and find their weaknesses. A whole new level of warfare had arrived. We skidded to a stop. The bay door stayed down. "Password?" someone yelled from the rooftop as zombies chased after us down the driveway. "Your mama told me the password in the shower this morning," Wilcox yelled back as he fired at the zombies. "Wilcox," the voice called. The bay door opened in front of us, and we drove in. As the door lowered, the machine gunner on the roof shot down the zombs that followed. We dismounted the truck and split up. Lopez and Wilcox went to the armory. Escobar went looking for gasoline for the truck. Jill and I helped Connors to the surgical center. The place being a hospital, we had a nice one. I woke up Dr. Scarborough, she liked to be called Teresa, to patch up Connors' leg. She woke up Felix. Both were happy to help, even if it was the middle of the night. Felix talked to Storm. Teresa worked in silence, listening to the one-sided conversation with a slightly amused expression on her face. Felix was cute in his own geeky way, but he kept talking about isolating antibodies and finding a cure or a vaccine for the zombie virus. He paused only long enough to introduce himself to Connors and say hi. The break didn't affect his thought pattern as he proceeded to rattle off formulas and chemical bonds and experiments he'd done on mice. I smiled at his enthusiasm, which he must have mistaken for interest, because he continued rambling in detail. Connors had a look of fright on his face that was almost comical. I don't think it was the surgery that bothered him, for a coat rack would be less rigid as he lay confined between a horny geek and an uninterested girl. His wounds were severe enough that he wouldn't be going on any missions for a while. We would need him and miss him later. Jill came to my rescue. "Julie, we're supposed to report into Winters, right?" "Right," I smiled at her. "Gotta go," I said to Connors, deliberately not looking at Felix. "Yep, gotta go," Jill said, and we got up and left. Safely out of earshot, I thanked her for the reminder. We did have to go. We needed more ammo, water, gasoline, and explosives. As we approached the armory, shouting echoed down the halls. We entered in time to hear the armory sergeant say to Lopez and Wilcox, "No ammo." "We have orders from Winters. We need more ammo," Wilcox told the man standing behind a counter that looked like the hospital pharmacy. An armed guard stood by the door. "I have my own orders from Winters." The sergeant picked up a piece of paper and read, "Per man, 3 30-round magazines of 5.56 millimeter, 24 12-gauge shells, 24 20-gauge shells, 8 grenades for the launcher, 1 box of 32 ACP, 25 rounds of 44 cal, 4 blocks of explosives, 6 anti-personnel mines." He put the sheet down and looked at Jill and me while still talking to Lopez and Wilcox. We had to hand-load the 44 out of old cases and use some heavy 45 ACP bullets. No one shoots that old cowboy crap anymore. At least we used up some of the black powder. "We're going back out," Lopez said to the sergeant as he turned and looked me in the eyes. My stomach turned over. "You see that signature?" The sergeant pointed to the page, regaining Lopez's attention. "You signed for all the ammo you're going to get. We have no more 44s, no more 32s. If I had any more, I'd give it to you. You got all you're getting for 5.56 and grenades. You want more ammo? You get orders." He waved the piece of paper at us. "God damn it," Wilcox said. A guard stepped forward. "Don't." Wilcox pointed a finger at the guard. "Move on," the sergeant said to Lopez. "And what do you want?" he said to me with a nasty scowl on his face. "I'm with them," I said. My reply didn't improve his mood. "Clear out. Orders equals ammo. No orders, no ammo." The sergeant turned and walked through a door, locking it behind him. You heard him, the guard said. Shit, Wilcox said. Shit, Lopez echoed. The four of us walked back to the loading bay. Escobar was swearing at someone. He saw us and came over. No gasoline. Strict orders from Winters, he said. Doesn't Winters understand how close we are? I asked. Maybe not, Lopez replied. You got a second reading from your analyzer yet? I asked him. I had a plan, but we'd need the coordinates of the jammer. Not yet, he said. Go do it. Is that an order? He looked me in the eyes again. That pissed me off. It pissed me off that he probably knew that it pissed me off. What are you going to do? Jill asked. Throw myself on the mercy of the court. I scoffed at my own bad joke. Everyone check your kits. Get food and water. Fresh batteries for the goggles. Jill, medical supplies. I turned and went looking for Winters. That sounds like an order, Wilcox said to Lopez. No, Winters said after I found him awake in his quarters, and we met a few minutes later in his office. Lopez has the location. He's mapped it out. All we need is enough gas for the pickup to get us there. We'll walk back. And ammo? Yeah, ammo. Where is Lopez? He's taking another bearing. He said something about being 100% sure. So where is it? I don't know. He marked an X on the map. Northeast somewhere. The airport. Maybe, I agreed without being specific, but I knew Winters might be correct. It made sense. Radar dishes, powerful radios. Maybe he wasn't as dumb as I'd recently started to believe he, Grierson, and other adults were. We need radio communications. He frowned. Winters always seemed to possess degrees of unhappiness that ranged from mildly annoyed to angry. I wondered if he ever smiled. Okay, one more time, he said. Only one more. Gasoline for there and back. Same ammo as yesterday. Make your shots count. Get prepped. Get some sleep. It's almost morning now. You'll go out again tonight. Sir, the zombies don't care if it's day or night. It doesn't matter to them anymore. And we're wasting time. Daytime is still too dangerous. But, Winters cocked his head to the side. Something bad has happened to them. I know. We can't wait. Winters nodded very slowly. Sir, they can't hold on. We have to do something. We are doing something. You go out tonight. But, no argument, Winters said with conviction, and I knew it would be pointless to continue. I had only to hope Jim held on one more day, if he were still alive. My heart ached, but I stuffed the pain deep inside, refusing to let the world see my suffering. What about Connors? I asked. He's hit? Yeah. How bad? Shot in the leg. He won't be walking for a while. I can't spare another man. I wondered if I should tell him about the shower room, the rigged-up laundromat, and the food kitchen. I didn't know enough about any of it, but maybe he had some ideas. What is it? He asked as he looked at me intently. Nothing. Don't say nothing to me. I told him what we'd found. Anything else? That's it for the time we had. We didn't want to stay around there and get discovered. As far as you know, the leaders don't know you found it? The barricades make it obvious, but not what's inside. No, they don't know we were there. Good. He fell silent, and I waited for him to say something. Anything. Finally he asked, What do you think? They are getting smarter. Maybe not the Zoms themselves, or maybe they are too, but the leaders, definitely. There's a pattern. They are growing smarter. They use their knowledge of us against us. They seem to be becoming more civilized. Bathing, washing clothing, preparing food, but still at war with us. They attack at nighttime as well as day. They come in through the roof or through vents. The leaders use Zoms as alarm systems. They fire guns to alert other Zoms when we are close. In the skyscraper, at first, they came at us from below in the stairwell. Then they came at us from above and from each floor. I don't think that many zombie holes were in that building, so they came from outside, and they went up a second stairway to get around behind us. I found myself leaning forward in my chair as I talked to him. They've built some kind of fort. The leaders are teaching the Zoms how to take showers, wash their clothes, and prepare meals for hundreds. They are even learning to use toilets. That was gross, like you've never seen. I laughed, and Captain Winters gave a little snort. He waited for me to continue. They're supposedly super smart, so they must be experimenting with the virus. We're looking for a vaccine and a cure. They're finding ways to spread the virus to dogs and who knows what. Winters turned in his chair and stared out into the darkened city. It was still night, not quite morning yet. Candles on his desk reflected in the glass. Maybe I'd said too much. We both sat there in silence, and I wondered if he thought I was an idiot. A year ago, even a month ago, what I'd said would be laughed at. What was I thinking? This guy was the commanding officer of hundreds of men. How could I tell him something as ridiculous as all that? Zombs couldn't be getting smarter. I was always told that they were virus-infected, brain-damaged, blinded people with violent and aggressive tendencies. They were controlled by brain-damaged carriers who told them what to do. They kidnapped uninfected people and added to their numbers. They killed anyone who resisted. Still, Winters didn't say anything. I began to wonder if he were more like Escobar than Wilcox. Quiet, direct, and never speaking unnecessarily. Finally he said, "What do you make of the lights at the refinery? You've seen them?" "I've got reports from our hunters. Someone has powered up the lights, and it looks like they are refining gasoline again." "You think I'm right?" I asked in amazement, taking a tissue from the box on his desk. It was a luxury item. I wiped my nose. He turned his chair back around and stared at me. The corner of his lips turned up. His eyes brightened ever so slightly. I blushed as he smiled for the first time. "Go get some sleep," he said. "One more thing?" I asked tentatively. "Shoot." "Why me? Why not a group of men?" "You've been out there on your own. Scavenging, if you don't mind the word. You lived among them.